So this is another bedtime story. As you can see, we're reading The Little Prince, which is one of my absolute favorite books. It is a movie now on Netflix, and it's one of my favorite movies ever. I usually would classify this as a, hold on, we are in my car currently, so we'll try that out today. Usually I would classify this as a children's book, but it is not under that classification because, there are pictures, but there are a lot more words to it than there are pictures. So this is more of an older kid's book. This is the new translation, but it has the original art, which is amazing. And if you've ever seen the movie, then these characters are, and the story is exact copies to the one that the aviator reads to the little girl. So, for example, we have that drawing and the sheep drawing that he shows us in the original book. So this book is by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and I know I'm probably saying that wrong, I apologize, but it is I believe this book is originally French, so that is why I probably am not saying it correctly. The Little Prince, and then these are books by the author. The Little Prince, written and illustrated by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, translated from the French by Richard Howard. In order to make his escape, I believe he took advantage of a migration of wild birds. So that's just a little snippet from the book in The Little Prince. It is very unique that a author wrote the book and illustrated it. So that's all really, really cool, because usually two different people do that. They don't usually have the same person do the same job. Harcourt Incorporated. This is a dedication. It's Julian Worth when he was a little boy. And then this is just a note about the translation, which we're not going to read. We're going to read maybe 5 pages because it is longer. But yeah. So, once when I was 6, I saw a magnificent picture in a book from the jungle called True Stories. It showed a boa constrictor and a wild beast. Here is a copy of the picture. In the book, it said boa constrictors swallow their prey whole without chewing. Afterwards, they are no longer able to move, and they sleep during the 6 months of their digestion. In those days, I thought a lot about jungle adventures, and eventually managed to make my first drawing, using a colored pencil. My drawing number 1 looked like this. I showed the grown-ups my masterpiece, and I asked them if my drawing scared them. They answered, "Why be scared of a hat?" My drawing was not a picture of a hat. It was a picture of a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. Then I drew the inside of the boa constrictor so the grown-ups could understand. They always need explanations. My drawing number 2 looked like this. The grown-ups advised me to put away my drawings of boa constrictors, outside or inside, and apply myself to geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar. That is what I abandoned at the age of 6. A magnificent career as an artist. I had been discouraged by the failure of my drawing number 1 and of my drawing number 2. Grown-ups never understood anything by themselves, and it is exhausting for children to have to provide explanations over and over. So then I chose another career. I had learned how to pilot airplanes. I have flown almost everywhere in the world, and as a matter of fact, geography has been a big help to me. I could tell China from Arizona at first glance, which is very useful if you get lost during the night. So I had, in the course of my life, lots of encounters with lots of serious people. I have spent lots of times with grown-ups, and I have seen at close range, which hasn't much improved my I have seen them at close range, which hasn't much improved my opinion of them. Whenever I encountered a grown-up who seemed to me at all enlightened, I wanted to experiment on him with my drawing. Number 1, which I have always kept. I wanted to see if he really understood anything, but he would always say, "That's a hat." Then I wouldn't talk about boa constrictors or jungles or stars. I would put myself on his level and talk about bridge and golf and politics and neckties, and my grown-up was glad to know such a reasonable person. So I lived all alone without anyone I could really talk to, until I had made a crash landing in the Sahara Desert 6 years ago. Something in my plane engine had broken, and since I had neither a mechanic nor passengers on the plane with me, I was preparing to undertake the difficult repair job by myself. For me, it was a matter of life or death. I had only enough drinking water for 8 days. The first night, then, I went to sleep on the sand of 1,000 miles from any inhabited country. I was more isolated than a man shipwrecked on a raft in the middle of an ocean, so you can imagine my surprise when I was wakened at daybreak by a funny little voice saying, "Please, draw me a sheep." "What?" I asked. "Draw me a sheep." I leapt up as if I had been struck by lightning. I rubbed my eyes hard, I stared, and started an extraordinary little fellow staring back at me seriously. Here is the best portrait I managed to make of him later on, but of course my drawing is much less attractive than my model. That is not my fault. My career as a painter was discouraged at the age of 6 by the grown-ups, and I never learned to draw anything except boa constrictors outside and inside. Here is the best portrait I managed to make of him later on. That's what he thinks the little prince looks like, with his boots and his stars and his hair. I like it. So I stared wide-eyed at this apparition. Don't forget that I was thousands of miles from any inhabited territory, yet this little fellow seemed neither to be lost nor dying of exhaustion, hunger, or thirst, nor did he seem scared to death. There was nothing in his appearance that suggested a child lost in the middle of the desert 1,000 miles from any inhabited territory. When I finally managed to speak, I asked him, "But what are you doing here?" And then he responded very slowly and very seriously, "Please, draw me a sheep." In the face of overpowering mystery, you don't dare disobey. Absurd as its themes, 1,000 miles from all inhabited regions, and in danger of death, I took a scrap of paper and a pen out of my pocket. But then I remembered that I had mostly studied geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar, and I told the little fellow rather crossly that I didn't know how to draw. He replied, "That doesn't matter, draw me a sheep." Since I had never drawn him a sheep, I made him one of the only 2 drawings I knew how to make, the one of the boa constrictor from outside, and I was astounded to hear the little fellow's answer. "No, no, no! I don't want an elephant inside of a boa constrictor. A boa constrictor is very dangerous, and an elephant would get in the way. Where I live, everything is very small. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep." So then I made a drawing. He looked at me carefully and said, "No, this one is really quite sick. Make another." I made another drawing. My friend gave me a kind, indulgent smile. "You can see for yourself that that's not a sheep. It is a ram. It has horns." So I made the 3rd drawing, but it was rejected like the others. "This one's too old. I want the sheep that will live a long time." So then impatiently, since I was in a hurry to start work on my engine, I scribbled the drawing and added, "This is just the crate. The sheep you want is inside." But I was amazed to see my young critic's face light up. "That's just the kind I wanted. Do you think the sheep will need a lot of grass?" "Why?" "Because where I live, everything is very small. There's sure to be enough. I've given you a very small sheep." He bent over the drawing. That's so small as all that. Look, he's gone to sleep." That's how I made the acquaintance of the little prince. So that'll be all for this episode of Little Bedtime Story. That is The Little Prince, first 6 pages. If you would like me to read more of this lovely Little Prince book, just put it in the comments, and even if there's just one, then I will do part 2. Love you all so much. Stay cute. Bye.